Everyone needs a respite from their own turmoil now and then, and East Highlands teenagers got one this week. Sort of. In the 7th episode of Euphoria, we finally get to see the complete production after seeing indications of Lexi's play preparation for the auditions. Her fear that it may push sister Cassie over the edge. So, what was episode 7 titled The Theater and Its Double about? What happened in the story, and how is it important for the rest of the plot? Well, if you're still lost about the latest episode of Euphoria Season 2, then we are here to recap and break it down for you. But of course, before any of that, make sure to hit that subscribe button and smash that notification bell for more updates. And watch out for many spoilers ahead. Now, let's begin. In Euphoria Season 2, Episode 7, titled The Theater and Its Double, the school production gives us the backstory of Lexi and Rue's friendship, shines the spotlight on Ethan, and leaves Cassie dangerously rudderless. The episode's premise as it follows: a recounting of Lexi and her circle's recent years through the eyes of the aspiring playwright, based on her views as an outsider to the group. It begins with Lexi discovering Rue's friend secreted away in her room, crushed and snorting her father's medicines at the father's wake. The scenes alternate between reality and the play, blurring the distinction between what is happening and Lexi's perceptions of it. The important members of the audience, Maddy, Kat, and Cassie, don't realize this play isn't a work of fiction until later, when the play's participants are presented in a scene when school photos are being shot. Even though their alter egos have distinct names, Marta, Luna, and Haley, they appear alike and act similarly. As they realize, the real women's faces begin to fall. They don't have to be concerned. Lexi's script is generally harmless, portraying her as a one-of-a-kind smart thinker in comparison to her selfie-obsessed classmates, and expressing her desperate desire to be cool and popular that many students experience as they start high school. It also highlights the greatest aspects of these girls' friendship, such as reminding Cassie and Maddy of the period when Maddy's parents were always arguing and she found safety at the Howard house. Cassie invited her into her bed, where she could feel safe and loved, rather than forcing her to sleep on a sofa bed alone. However, one scene had the potential to undo everything. Lexi eventually turns her attention to the school's jocks, including Nate, and enlists the help of a group of boys to recreate a gym session laced with homoeroticism and not-so-subtle phallic overtones. Its choreographed routine is set to Bonnie Tyler's Holding Out for a Hero, as the audience gobbles it up with gusto, except for Nate, who, sensing the rest of the audience's constant glances at him, grows less and less impressed as the scene progresses and exits the theater once the scene is over. Cassie pursues him, and he informs her that it is homophobic, before accusing her of being responsible for her sister's behavior and storming out of the school. The unexpected romance, Fez and Lexi. Season 2 of Euphoria piqued the interest of the viewers in the possibility of a new pair formation, Fez and Lexi. The unexpected couple is finally growing close to one another, as the internet hoped and prayed for their relationship. Lexi spent the majority of her time conversing with Fez. She confided in him about her insecurities, particularly in regards to the play. Lexi felt special since Fez patiently listened to her opinions and doubts. Fez wore a white, freshly ironed shirt on the day of the performance. He wanted to impress Lexi, so he asked Faye for her opinion on his outfit. Meanwhile, Ashtray stood there watching Castor walk into the house and mutter something to Faye. He could tell that something was seriously wrong with their behavior. He got his hands on a knife and hid it in his sleeve. Fez was about to depart with a bouquet of red flowers in his hands, but he sensed Castor was concealing something from him. Lexi kept an eye out on the empty seats she had set out for Fez. She hoped he would appear at some point during each new scenario on stage, but he never did. Despite this, Lexi showed herself to be a strong woman in episode 7. She was firm in her command of her other artists, striving for excellence, as her play was a huge success in the end. The Rue-Lexi friendship. We learn in the first season of Euphoria that Lexi used to be Rue's best friend, but that they drifted away over time. Season 2, Episode 7 of Euphoria depicts their friendship and the small unforgettable moments they spent before Rue became entirely addicted. Lexi remembered Rue's grief after her father died, and she knew she'd never be able to console her sufficiently. Rue taught her that not being popular or a member of a group made one an outcast, and that this had its own charm. Rue felt tearful as she recalled about her great day spent on stage with her best friend, seeing their lovely friendship unravel. Lexi had always felt bad about not telling Rue's mother about her addiction, especially after she overdosed. When others asked if Rue was her best friend, she was never able to respond. She yearned for the bond they used to share, but it was too late to reach out to Rue. Did Nate and Cassie break up? The play was not written with everyone in mind. Cassie was hurt by Lexi's portrayal of her. When the performance focused on Cassie and Maddy's friendship, she dashed to the restroom. Maddy was a self-assured young woman who never seemed to question her abilities. Maddy remained at Cassie's home. When her parents were fighting, Cassie consoled Maddy as she sobbed, recalling the events at her home. Cassie was reminded of the happy moments during a time when she and Maddy had lost touch. After Rue reveals the truth about Cassie and Nate's relationship, we finally get to see what happened. Cassie locked herself in the washroom that night because she was frightened to face Maddy. Maddy pounded on the door for several minutes. She was overcome with grief and disappointment since she had not expected her best friend to betray her. She didn't care about Nate. He hurt her and went out of his way to undermine her friendship with her best friend. Cassie sobbed as part of her regretting her decision, but she straightened her hair and smiled at herself. As she glanced in the mirror, she was the sweet, innocent Cassie she had always been, with a huge smile on her face. Cassie and Nate's relationship was one of submission and dominance rather than one of equality. Cassie entirely surrendered to Nate. She wanted him to make all of her decisions for her, from what she could wear to whom she could communicate with. She was simply delighted to be adored. Nate had chosen to be with her, and she was grateful for that. Cassie was exactly the kind of lady Nate had wished for. He chose the wonderfully naive lady who had no opinions, someone who could be an obedient wife and round out his ideal family. Even though he experienced dreams about his father, Nate continued to be like Cal. With a dance sequence, the play drew to a close. Nate and his gym pals were clearly the focus. These are the men who at any given time complete their sentences with a phrase to establish their orientation. In The Last Dance, the play portrayed Nate and his friends involved in certain visible acts. The phallus took center stage as the guys danced their hearts out. The dance attempted to humiliate a man with such toxic traits, and it was successful in offending Nate. Nate clenched his fists as he watched the dance. He left the theater, and Cassie followed him. He blamed Cassie, and Lexi was his sister. He asked her to leave his house as soon as possible and left the corridor. Cassie was heartbroken and angry at the same time. She looked at the stage with hateful eyes. In the last episode of Euphoria Season 2, we can expect Cassie to have an outburst now that she has lost Nate as well. Along with that, we can expect to know what happened to Fez and Ashtray. With the narrative unraveling, the last episode is expected to be exciting. That's all for today. We hope you enjoyed that video, and if you did, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and smash that notification bell for more episodes.